restrictive interventions, those need to be documented on the IEP. Now we're going to see detention listed on here, and everybody's going to say, does that mean I can never give a detention to a child with a hearing loss or who has an IEP? If on the IEP you have stated that the child will follow standard student handbook procedures, then you're covered. Because if your student handbook for your school cites detention and the student is on the IEP following that handbook, then yes, the student can have a detention. However, any type of manual restraint, any type of physical restraint, if you're doing crisis prevention holds, any type of hands-on, you need to document that on your IEP. We've also got a list on page 4 of highly restrictive and prohibited interventions in Illinois. I'm sure we all know corporal punishment is illegal in Illinois. Highly restrictive aversive mists, this would be maybe spraying somebody with a vinegar and water mixture. We have phoretic skin shock on here, which always scares me because in order for it to be on this list means that somebody had to be using it at some point in order for someone else to say we need to make this illegal, and that's like a cattle prod. So yeah, so it always strikes me as odd that it's specifically listed as prohibited. Okay. So back to Maddie. One additional point, this behavior does not occur in one-to-one or group situations with Maddie. Okay? We've talked about her behavior. Let's talk a little bit about the different strategies for assessment. How would you go about getting the information that you need? And a lot of you were absolutely making the point. There's not enough information here. We need additional information. And that's good that you recognize that. Okay? There's more information needed. Okay. So we want to do interviews. Okay? You want to interview the student. Okay? Maybe if the student is cognitively able, why are you doing this behavior? How often do we suppose that teachers and social workers and psychologists have sat around and come up with all sorts of plans without saying to the student, why are you doing this? Okay? Maybe they're not cognitively able to respond to that, but if they are, ask them. Interview a variety of people who know the student, family members, teachers, speech therapists, social workers, anybody who has involvement with the student. Okay? Then we want the data collection. This is challenging. It's very challenging, especially when you're first doing it. But once you get used to it, it becomes more of a skill. Kind of like when you start driving and every single little mirror adjustment and turn signal, you have to really pay attention to it. But after a while, you become comfortable with it, and it's a skill that you have, and you don't need to think about it so much. Okay? We talked about this before. What changes can you make in the environment? Perhaps you ask the child a question that you know the child knows the answer to. Okay? Maybe you talk to the child ahead of time and you say, I'm going to be asking you this question today. Here's the answer. And when I call on you, you're going to know the answer to this question. Okay? You've made a change in the environment. Maybe the student is then going to be paying a little more attention during the day because they're waiting for the teacher to ask that question. Once they know the answer to the question, they don't have to worry about self-esteem issues. They don't have to worry about getting laughed at. They know they're going to have the right answer. You can change things around in the environment. All right, so more strategies for data collection. You've got your referral. So say you're the behavior team and somebody is having a student with challenging behavior. You've got your referral process in place. You're taking a look at at what that referral form looks like. You're going to do your interviews and then your direct observation. And when you're observing, you're going to be looking at the A, the B, and the C. The antecedent, the behavior itself, and the consequence. Okay? You're also going to be looking at setting events. Okay? These are things that are kind of happening before the behavior even occurred. Okay? We talked about environmental variables. We talked about triggers. What are the things going on in the student's life that's contributing to the behavior? All right. So all these things come together. We've looked at the FBA components, and you're going to want to come up with a hypothesis of the function of the behavior. Why do we think this behavior is happening? Okay? If we look at research in terms of functions of behavior, there's two research-validated functions of behavior. Okay? They are to get something, okay? And the something could be attention, it could be a sensory type of reinforcement. This is more prevalent among low cognitive individuals. It could be a tangible thing. Maybe they really want that sticker, or they really want that M&M. And the other research-validated function is to avoid or escape something. Okay? So all of my behavior is either to get something or to avoid something. Okay? So think of any of your own behaviors. Think of any of the student behaviors. You're going to get something or you're going to avoid something. Any questions on that? Okay. All right. Let's look at the same information another way, because I believe in multiple ways of getting information. Okay? Again, both in school and in life, two main functions or purposes. You're going to be obtaining attention, power, some sort of self-stimulation if it's a sensory reason. Or what are the things we want to escape? Okay? We want to escape specific tasks. We want to escape being embarrassed. Maybe there's specific people or specific situations we want to avoid. Okay? That's why we engage in behavior. Okay? One tool that we have used at Illinois Service Resource Center is the Motivation Assessment Scale. It's very easy. You try and have at least 3 people complete the rating scale. We've explained where it can be purchased, and it's 16 questions, and it gives you information as to what the function of the behavior might be. All right. Let's take a look at that hypothesis statement that we're talking about. Okay? This is going to be your best guess about the relationship between the behavior and the environment. You're guessing what is the reason for the behavior, what function is the behavior serving. Okay? So your goal is to identify those circumstances that are related to the behavior. Okay? In what circumstances will the behavior occur, and what circumstances will the behavior not occur? So again, it's that Sherlock Holmes. Let's look at everything that's going on and see if we can't figure out what are the things that are contributing to that behavior. What's making that behavior show up? And why is it showing up on Friday instead of Monday? Okay, here's a little bit more information about Maddie. Okay, and this came from the interview. Okay, they found out that she has very low self-esteem. Okay, she has a lot of concern about peers not liking her and fear that they're going to make fun of her. Okay, so that's another variable. Okay, we have in our packet a blank functional behavioral assessment. Okay? You also have another page in your packet that lists some of Maddie's strengths. All right? Do you all feel that you need additional information about Maddie in order to start filling out as a team this functional behavioral assessment form? Okay? Why don't we get started? And if you have any questions or any items where you'd want more information, let's keep a list of that. So get together with your team, and you've already done your operational definition of the target behavior. We've given you the strengths, and see if this is the form that you will be filling out for a functional behavioral assessment. So let's give it a shot. And the very bottom one is where you're going to come up with your hypothesis. So let's take some time right now to work as teams and get this page filled out. I've seen this.
Okay, we looked in a medical section and it says, what was it? Was blood exceeds sugar.
I just always see. I've seen some of the clients just do this.
But really, blood exceeds sweets. That's a lot of work.
Okay, about one more minute. Okay, we had some very good questions during this process. What did you find to be challenging about this? What were some of your challenges? Yes?
We didn't know enough information in the studying areas to what last time it occurred. Was it the same time every day, or was it half, or was it...
Okay, so you need a little more data. You need more information about the environment. Okay, how would you go about getting that information?
Making a chart.
Okay, so data collection charts so that you could identify the days, the times, the locations. So using the chart that we looked at a little earlier today. Yes?
We need to know more information about her disability.
Okay.
Dyslexia, physical material, what needs to be altered, what is exactly causing difficulty.
Okay, so there's not a clear enough description of how her learning disability is impacting her achievement and ability to work. Good, great. Anything else? All right, so more information. Okay, so that's good because it gives you an idea of really how much comprehensive information you do need in order to do this effectively. How often do people say, oh, this student is having a challenging behavior, let's sit down and write a functional behavioral assessment? And it happens. You just kind of sit down and do it, and then you have a plan, and then you could say, well, we did the FBA and we did the BIP, but the behavior's still there, it's not working. Okay? So this is giving you an idea of really how to do this comprehensively and effectively. You'd want that data collection. You'd want more information on learning styles. Lots of information to gather. And the FBA part of this whole process is if you've ever painted a room. Anybody here ever done any painting in a room? There's all that prep work. Okay? You have to do the scraping. You have to tape the windows. There's all of that part that's not so fun where you're doing all of that preparation so that then you could get in and apply the paint and make it look real pretty. Okay? So the functional behavioral assessment is that scraping and putting the tape up part, and then the creativity and coming up with the interventions, that's where you actually just get to kind of paint. Okay? So now we're in that 80% of, it's taking up 80% of your time before you're even doing anything. That's what you're doing right now. Okay. Any particular categories on the paperwork itself that you found challenging? Yes?
The environmental variables?
Okay, the environmental variables.
Yeah, that was, we don't have a lot of information about it, but it's also
Okay.
hard to gather.
All right, how would you get more information on that? How would you get more information on environmental variables? Where would that come from? The parents, interviews with parents, finding out more information about maybe what's happening at home, medical issues. All right. Let's go around. Yes.
And how do you get parents to cooperate when sometimes they're the ones that are the preventing us from finding out what's in their environmental areas?
That is challenging. That is absolutely challenging. How do you get in touch with the parents? Sometimes we're fortunate and we have parents that are willing to come in for meetings and share information and do homeschool communication logs, and then some parents are not returning phone calls. If that's the case, then you've got your social worker who could maybe do a home visit. The Illinois Service Resource Center is available as a support when there's homeschool types of issues. You really need to go beyond the classroom teacher if that's the situation. You need extra support. Okay, let's kind of go through and see what everybody came up with for their hypothesis. So let's start with this group over here.
Obviously, there's lack of attention at home, so she enjoys just craving for the attention from the teacher, and doesn't appreciate working at home, possibly struggling with academics, maybe the level that she has, maybe there are self-esteem issues, fearful of what others think of her.
Okay, so you included a lot of potential reasons in your hypothesis. I heard that the student wants attention, that there may be learning issues, that there might be environmental issues at home, and there might be self-confidence. Okay? So you identified 4. When we're coming to the point of the hypothesis, we are recognizing it might be any of these things, and you have to it might be a combination, but you want to kind of guess which is the one having the most impact, because that's how you're going to design your intervention. Okay, so you absolutely identified several variables that absolutely could be having an impact. Okay, the next group?
We had given independent sequence, Maddie will talk back, relay work, ask questions in order to gain the attention from the teacher. She's getting attention-seeking behavior. When the attention is denied, Maddie will scream, cry, and slap the desk until she's removed from the textbook.
Okay, so your hypothesis is she's engaging in the behavior to obtain attention from the teacher. Okay, great. Phil Rock?
Student may not feel comfortable with the classroom yet.
With the classroom
Just classroom
setting, okay.
whole environment.
Okay, so your hypothesis is some sort of discomfort with the classroom environment, and that's impacting her behavior. Great. Okay. Next group.
We're not really sure based on this data if it's in a situation where she's trying to gain attention from the teacher, just simply that, or if it is that she does not understand the material and is just trying to avoid embarrassment.
Okay.
Working with the material. It'd probably be helpful if we knew what was going on in the math class where she feels like she has some strengths.
Okay.
If she's still showing these same behaviors just to gain attention, or if she's not showing those behaviors because she can do the work and doesn't need to avoid the work.
Okay, so your hypothesis is either she's not understanding the work, so it's an educational issue, or she is looking for teacher attention. Okay, great.
When Maddie is required to independently complete work, she will whine, scream, cry, and slap the desk, resulting in one-to-one assistance will be assigned to going to the office and escaping.
Okay, so you've kind of combined she gets some attention and she gets to escape. Okay, great. Next group.
We didn't have enough information, so we took our best guess. Given independent work, Maddie will refuse to complete work without assistance in order to escape the task.
Okay, we've got an escape the task over here. What'd you guys come up with?
During independent work time, Maddie seeks assistance with her work. When she does not get attention, the behavior escalates. Maybe the teacher's assistance, because she has these low self-esteem issues, maybe it's the teacher's attention and assistance kind of assures her that she's doing things correctly.
Okay, so the function of her behavior is to obtain attention for the purposes of reassurance in order to complete the task. Okay, great. And what do we have over here?
Well, I also just put that the independent work was difficult, and with the low self-esteem, she needed extra encouragement to complete her work and stay on task. It also could be related to the learning disability, so it may be a way to escape the work because it's too hard and she doesn't have the confidence.
Okay, so it's either the learning disability impacting her ability to do the work and therefore escaping the work because it's too challenging, or her self-confidence is impacting her ability to complete the work and she's seeking teacher attention to help her have that confidence somehow. Okay, great. All right. Well, we all had the same set of information and we have several various hypotheses, okay, out of the same set of information. So that's always so interesting that if we had 5 more teams, we might have 5 more variations, okay? So just reflecting on that is always so interesting to me, because then later in the day we're going to be taking these hypotheses and moving forward to develop interventions based on our hypothesis. Okay, so let's hold on to that, and we're going to be coming back to it and move forward a little bit. Okay, so once we start thinking about the interventions, we want to think about teaching behaviors that are going to be functionally equivalent to the problem behavior. Now this can be really challenging for the teacher if you've identified escape the task as the function of the behavior. Because what does that mean? What does that mean if you're going to teach you're going to be teaching an appropriate way to escape the task? Okay? And teachers don't want to teach students appropriate ways to escape the task. They want to teach the students to do the task. So sometimes that intermediate step can be a challenge. Okay? But if you take the time to teach the student an appropriate way to escape the task, at least they're learning something. Okay? And it's showing you that the self-control is there. And then you worry later about completing the task. First you want to take a look at the behavior. If the student is currently throwing tantrums and interrupting the entire class, and you could teach the student to request to get some water, or to request a hall pass to go and visit another classroom, or just ask for a break, then you're able to work with the rest of the classroom, and the student is learning a skill. You're teaching the student a skill. You're teaching the student to recognize, for whatever reason, I need a break, I need to escape this. Here's an appropriate way to request that. And these are the things that you want to include in the new behavior, okay? It's behavior. You're teaching a coping strategy. You're teaching the student a way to cope with whatever it is that's interfering with their learning, and also something that they're able to do independently and that they're willing to do independently. Okay? Again, the question you're asking yourself, why is the person engaging in this behavior, in this setting, at this time? This is the ultimate question. All right. So the next thing that we want to think about is, can we teach an alternative behavior? Okay? What else can we look at? Okay? Now we want a behavior that's going to result in the same reinforcer. Otherwise, the student will not engage in the new behavior. Okay? And we need something that's going to give a real quick result. Okay? With good consistency and something that's not harder than what they're already doing. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. So let's take a quick look at a student who is screaming when they want the teacher's attention, but we want the student to raise her hand when she wants teacher attention. Which of these is faster to get the teacher's attention? Screaming or raising your hand? Screaming, it's faster. Okay? Which one is going to give you teacher attention with greater consistency? The screaming. And which one requires less effort? Screaming, okay? So, screaming, why should the student change? What motivation would there be? Okay? You want to come up with ideas that are going to meet those criteria. All right. We've talked earlier about the A, the B, and the C of the behavior. Okay? The antecedent, doesn't matter what the shapes are, these are just the ones that they've thrown in here. So the antecedent, what is the antecedent? What does that mean? Okay, it's what you're seeing before the behavior. Antecedent is what's happening before the behavior. Then you've got the problem behavior, and you have to agree on what that problem behavior is. Okay? Needs to be consensus among the team. And the maintaining consequence. What is the student getting out of it? Okay, so you've got your A, your B, and your C. And then the setting event is all the other stuff that might be going on in the student's life. Okay? Are the parents getting a divorce? Was there a fight last night? Did I fight with my brother and I didn't get to watch my TV show? All the things we said before. The wrong cereal, the wrong socks. Someone made fun of me on the bus. Environmental issues. Is it a full moon? All kinds of things that can be impacting student behavior. Okay? Same information, let's just take another look at it. Okay? Different shapes, different colors. Helps us get the information in there. Okay? Got your setting event. This is the big picture. Okay? All the things that maybe you'll find out when the social worker does the social history. Okay? Maybe there's information in the social history that will help us identify any setting events. You're going to identify the triggering event or antecedent for the behavior, get a clear definition of the behavior itself, and then you're going to identify the function of the behavior, which is either to get something or to get away from something. Okay? Here are some examples of environmental setting events. Okay. Maybe something in the child's neighborhood, home environment. Maybe there's something in the classroom, instructional arrangements. We talked about some things for Maddie that fell into that category. Maybe there's some history for the student. All right, so you could have environmental issues as setting events. You could have learning styles as setting events. Okay? Maybe somebody is a kinesthetic learner. Maybe the student hasn't been given the appropriate amount of choices. Okay? Maybe an